Hi, I'm Jeffrey Thomas. Please forgive the streakiness and everything. When you see people on Facebook and their profile pictures have like weird special effects, like the solarize them and make them look artistic, it's because they're apparently self-conscious about the way they look. But for me, this is just an effect to complement the environment of my novel, The Fall of Hades, which is in a very corroded and corrupted and rusty, kind of broken down future. It's a sequel to my novel Letters from Hades, but you don't have to have read Letters from Hades to enjoy it, The Fall of Hades. It takes place 2,000 years after the events of Letters from Hades. But again, you don't need to know that. But you do need to know that it takes place 2,000 years after a big apocalyptic battle between demons, angels, and the damned. The main character's name is V. She wakes up in this post-industrial, post-apocalyptic cyber inferno with no memory of herself. So she sets out to try to discover her own past as she's exploring this hellish environment. Her only companion is J, a talking, sentient, organic gun. And so I'm going to read one small chapter from The Fall of Hades. This chapter is called The Mass-Produced. They had been mounting an iron staircase bolted to the concrete interior of a titanic smokestack or silo. The mesh steps were rusted, and the concrete cracked and stained with dampness and grease. The staircase, distressingly narrow and with no handrail, had already taken V so high that below her the floor was engulfed in darkness, so that she could not see the mouth of the corridor that had delivered her into this gigantic silo. The staircase spiraled around and around it like the coiled skeleton of a monstrous serpent. Once weary, she stopped to rest, perching her bottom on one of the steps and wrapping her arms around her knees. She slept that way for an indeterminate time, her dreams a dissolving and reforming collage of images and associated dislocated sound, the tatters of a former life. She woke with a start, and a vertiginous look into the spiraling vortex that gaped hungrily for her to fall. She rose unsteadily, resumed climbing. With no sense of destination, up seemed the only viable direction, up and up, her only impulse, her only instinct for ascension. She even passed huge stenciled numbers painted in white on the curving wall. 3, 4, 5, 6. It had to be an indication of the level she had reached. Or was it the current circle of hell? There were other things painted beside or overlapping these numbers in red paint. At level 6 there was the quote, "Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities, and all the plain, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and that which grew upon the ground." Not only that, but the giant number 6 had a slash to it, and over it in red was painted 666. There were misspellings besides, as there were in the quote that appeared at level 7 when she reached it. "Upon the wicked he shall rain snares, fire and brimstone, and an horrible tempest. This shall be the portion of their cup." The winding staircase terminated at this, the 7th level. Another metal hatchway, and V opened it on squealing hinges, stepped over its threshold. It was another stupendous room, a factory floor, murkily lit, only occasional lights spaced here and there inadequately. Not far from the door were several padded, cradle-like chairs, like something astronauts might recline in, with an intricate control panel between them, a few bejeweled lights still twinkling upon it. Bullet holes punctured both chairs, and V thought she saw ancient bloodstains. Beyond the chairs loomed a number of massive steel vats that took up most of the room, but lining one entire wall was a row of vertical glass cylinders. Some of these were broken, shattered by bullets. A few still contained vile-looking greenish solution, with scum that almost looked like bits of macerated flesh collected at the bottom. She moved down this aisle and came upon a couple of tubes in which a body floated in the greenish fluid, reminding her of the deformed fetuses carnival sideshows called pickled punks. But these had obviously been demons in the making, looking close to completed. Dead now, however. They were a little like the insect demons she had seen in the recorded memory Jay had played for her, but these appeared more like ticks than locusts, bipedal, with pale greenish exoskeletons. Their forelimbs resembled those of a praying mantis, but bladed, and lesser pairs of limbs ended in a variety of surgical-looking implements of torture. One of the cylinders was punctured by bullets. The fluid had long since all run out, and the insect demon was slumped at the container's bottom with half its head shot away. Painted in red words across this cylinder was the quote, "And these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name shall they cast out devils." Having reached the end of the aisle, V turned and saw an odd obstacle between this and the next factory chamber beyond. It was a row of human heads, maybe 30 or so, hanging from the ceiling via long chains affixed to metal rings screwed into the top of their skulls. The dangling chains were like the strands of a beaded curtain demarcating the border between this room and the next, and the heads suspended from the chains were alive. Vi saw eyes blink, mouths move soundlessly for want of vocal cords. But shouldn't even severed heads regenerate into full bodies again? As Vi warily neared the heads, though, she saw why this hadn't occurred. The neck stumps had all been capped over with a metal covering, bolted through the flesh into the bone perhaps, that prevented the bodies from regrowing. From Jay's ongoing tutelage, Vi could tell by the brands on some of the foreheads that these were damned humans, though by the time of the recording he had shown her, the practice of branding the damned had been forsaken, so the heads that weren't branded were also members of the damned as opposed to being angels like herself. The heads swayed ever so slightly on their chains, like pendulums stirred by a faint vented breeze. Vi stepped closer still, and saw the eyes follow her. Some seemed to blink, their lids, as if to convey a message to her in Morse code. Other heads appeared to widen their eyes meaningfully, and a number of them stretched their mouths in silent screams or else mouthed words mutely. Too late, Vi realized the disembodied heads were trying to warn her.